Welcome to the Thornton Review.
The show designed with you in mind. If it's important to you, it's important to us.
Kevin Stevens was born and raised in Pensacola, Florida. He earned his degree in International Studies from the University of West Florida and served in the U.S. Navy. Kevin took the skills he learned in the military and started a security company, which he sold after 15 years. He then started a finance company, ADI LLC, which has grown to one of the largest holding companies on the Gulf Coast. ADI LLC manages assets that include numerous companies, such as commercial and residential construction, plumbing, water filtration, electrical contracting, and private security firms. Kevin currently serves as Chief Financial Officer on the boards of each of these companies. In addition, Kevin has experience in managing multi-million-dollar budgets with a unique insight to cutting cost, waste, and redundancy. Kevin has been a Rotarian for the last 18 years. He also serves on the board of Capstone Adaptive Learning. Kevin was elected to serve as the District 5 board member for the Emerald Coast Utilities Authority in 2020 and was re-elected in 2024 to serve on the ECUA board for a second term. Kevin met his wife Lena while attending UWF. They live in Molino, where they are raising their two children, Kevin and Claire. Hi, I'm Pueschel Schneier, Executive Producer and Manager of the Thornton Review. Thank you for tuning in. Our guest on today's show is Kevin Stevens of Emerald Coast Utilities Authority, representing District 5. So, Kevin, it's really nice to have you on the show again.
Thank you for having me.
A few times, and it's always an interesting conversation.
Absolutely.
Talk about water and the materials recycling facility and all that good stuff. But will you please introduce yourself?
So again, Kevin Stevens. I serve ECUA District 5, so that's kind of the north end for those folks in 1 through 4. So basically 9 Mile Road all the way to the Alabama line. So probably the largest area geographically out of the 5 districts. So very diverse district that I get to call home.
And growing.
Growing like gangbusters.
Well, thank you for that. We're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll begin our discussion with Kevin Stevens, ECUA District 5. There is no government-funded program that can guide a man's thoughts. Only God can do that. Company can install any type of fence. When you call and mention the Thornton Review, you'll receive a $100 discount on your fence. They also offer military discounts. Vinyl fence, wood fence, aluminum fence, chain link fence. If it has the word fence, Alpha Fence Company can do it. 850-586-8020. 850-586-8020. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to begin our discussion with Kevin Stevens, ECUA District 5. So, Kevin, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
I always enjoy conversations with you, and a lot of times when I'm preparing to do a show, I list out questions so I know exactly what I'm going to ask. But with you, it's pretty easy.
Hey, we can wing it.
We
ask me anything.
Okay, so SB 700 recently passed.
It did.
That was to Well, there were a lot of things in that bill, but
Sure.
one of the things was to get rid of hydrofluorosilicic acid or fluoride out of the municipal water supply because
Correct.
stating that it's forced medication, not so much stating on the health benefits or health, whatever's bad for you about it, but mainly because of forced medication. And I'm wondering if part of that reasoning, because ever since 1997, and I'll say that hydrofluorosilicic acid and ECUA was my very first political involvement. I didn't even think of it as being political at the time, but I was so vehemently opposed to hydrofluoric acid being put in our water that I was protesting it, and I was going to the ECUA meetings and I was speaking about it, and I was doing various other things against it. Now, almost 30 years later, 25 years later, we have COVID, and everybody's totally against the vaccine mandates. What do you know what the reasoning is now? Like, why now? Why do we all of a sudden have elected officials who are willing to speak out and actually get a bill passed to get it out of the water? Like, why now?
Well, and again, that's a great question. You know, when this is brought to the board, and again, this is brought 20 plus years ago, as you know, way prior to me being elected on the board, there was some outcry about it, and it actually passed. Oh gosh, it was like 60%, right? It was close. It was close. 50 some odd percent it passed. And
It was like 58 to 52 or something.
right, like I said, very close.
48 to
And
52.
and probably the last 6 months ago, I think it really got brought to the board again, right? So it just kind of, and I'm not sure what prompted it to be brought to the board, but not just yourself. We had several other people come to the board and say, look, we want it taken out of our water, et cetera, et cetera. You know, interesting enough, me serving the residents of District 5, you know, most of which don't have ECUA water. So we never put
Right.
fluoride. For example, my house in
Farm
Molino.
Utilities doesn't have
Yeah,
it.
Farm Hill, Molino Utilities doesn't have it, never has had it. So,
ECUA is the only one in the area and the two counties.
right, like I said, that had it in there. So again, as my granddaddy used to say, I didn't have a dog in the hunt when it came to when it came to whether or not to vote for or against taking it out, right? But what I did do was I said, look, I'm gonna podcast this. I do a show as well.
Yeah.
So I was asking folks my phone number, reach out to me. I've had the same phone number for 25 years. So I did. I had some folks at Escambia County, north of Escambia, do sort of a poll, and say, hey, you know, what are your thoughts on fluoride, for or against?
Yeah.
So a lot of different outlets. I've got a large email database as well with residents out there sending that out. So I got some for it, and we have a lot of dentists that live in District 5, by the way,
Right,
clearly.
yeah.
So I had a lot of folks that reach out to me from the dental community and said, you know, here's all the reasons why we think it's a good thing. But I had a lot of folks, a vast majority of folks in my district say, look, we don't want it in there. Now I did have to inform them, you don't have it in there, FYI.
Yeah.
But if you were to, so.
But you
Again,
appreciated their input.
I appreciate their input because, again, you know, when I got
Gives you an
elected
idea.
to this position, it's not. I mean, yes, I have my own opinions. Yes, I have my own views, but I was put in this position to address what the majority of the residents in my district want. So I was for removing it, not necessarily because I thought ECUA put enough in the water, because we were actually below what even the recommended amount was, but it was the fact that, again, as you said, you know, a lot of folks they had the argument, and it's a great argument. It's like, look, we didn't ask you for it, and so the one side of it was, you know, the poor minority communities, for example, can't have access to good dental care, right? And so that's why they need it in there. So that was an argument. And then on the flip side of that was the same folks were like, well, look, we don't have the same community, the same demographics, doesn't have access to $1,000 water filtration system for the individuals who don't want fluoride in there. So for the same argument of we need it in there to help the poorer communities, the poor community individuals who didn't want it in there had no way of getting it out. So, again, and I think that was part of the bill, right? The bill was, we're not saying for or against fluoride.
Yeah.
We're not saying it's a benefit or not a benefit. We're simply saying that I think the purpose of the bill was, we're not, the federal government and or the states cannot add anything that is not absolutely necessary for the cleaning, sanitation of water, to make drinkable water.
And that makes complete common sense.
Sure. So So for those reasons, it was thankfully, like I said, it passed. We, as you know, we removed it before the law went into effect. I got with staff just as soon as the bill was passed, even before it went into effect, and I said, look, how much of this do we have left? And we didn't have that much of it, because I think everybody kind of saw the tea leaves and where everything was going with that. And so again, we were able to actually, it stopped probably a month or so, 6 to 8 weeks before the law actually went into effect. So non-issue on fluoride now.
Yeah, so it went into effect on July 1st, and
Correct.
so ECUA had it out before then, because
We did.
You didn't buy more.
Correct.
You just used what you had, and then it was gone, and so it's finished.
Correct. And that was, and like I said, that was actually prior to July.
So this hydrofluorosilicic acid, we call it fluoride, is a waste byproduct of the phosphate fertilizer and aluminum factories, and I think ECUA got it from the ones in South Florida. So those phosphate fertilizer and aluminum factories are still in operation. What are they doing with their waste now?
As far as
The hydrofluorosilicic acid, since ECUA and other
right.
water utilities in the state of Florida are no longer even able to buy it, what are these factories doing with it? Where's it going?
I honestly have no idea what they're
as the filters for
sure.
their waste.
Well, now there are other states. So ECUA was not the only state and municipality, or I'm sorry, the only municipality who used it. There's quite a few other states
so they probably reached out to
that still correct. Well, again, I can't tell you definitively, just because I had to do a lot of research because of all the public outcry about fluoride against fluoride. But there are multiple states, and within those states, multiple municipalities who still provide fluoride in their water. So I don't want to speculate, but I'm assuming there's still customers out there that are utilizing the product.
I wonder if there are any water municipalities that haven't been using fluoride that are trying to introduce it to their.
It's interesting, because I was sitting there talking to the dentist, and they would come up there, and again, and I want to listen to everybody's opinions and so forth. And so there were studies, right? They're like, okay, here's the studies before we started adding fluoride. Here's after we add fluoride, and tooth decay has gone down as a result of, according to some of these stats, right? I had this college professor that used to say, there's 3 kinds of lies: damn lies, and statistics.
Yeah.
So
that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, who's doing the statistics?
But again,
who are they surveying?
It would be interesting, because I would ask them, I was like, well, look, if these are the stats here, what if look at Santa Rosa County, and let's look at Molina, let's look at some of these other municipalities who have not added it into the water, and see what their dental hygiene rating per se is, and that would be a good display. But again, as you know, it's been removed. So like I said, it's kind of a non-issue at this stage of the ball game. I'm sure it'll probably pop up at some point years down the line if someone makes an assertion, hopefully based on facts, that tooth decay has increased in the ECUA area XYZ, because we took the fluoride out. So I won't be in office at that time, but
it would be hard to determine that would be the factor, because there's genetics, there's diet, there's
absolutely. There's tons of
brushing your teeth with,
and what I said was, I do a lot of
properly brushing your teeth.
And to the argument of the folks saying, hey, there's a lot of poorer communities who may not have access to good dental, and I always say, hey, look, myself, good friend of mine, Representative Salzman, we do a lot of backpack drives, a lot of food drives, and so forth. And for the last couple, we've added toothpaste, fluoride toothpaste, toothbrushes, mouthwash, things of that nature.
Non-fluoride toothpaste, though.
Well, we're kind of focused on the fluoride toothpaste, because it took the fluoride out of the water. So, but anyway, so we've done some things like that for the individuals who, because as you know, a lot of folks came up speaking for it. So again, I'm like, look, it's no longer in the water, but if you choose to utilize some of these dental products that have it in there, you certainly can. So you can't please everybody. My mom used to say, if you want to make everybody happy, son, sell ice cream. So, but again, I think it was a happy median.
Okay, so when you first got elected to ECUA, I was on the Citizens Advisory Committee, and one of our first meetings was the yearly budget. And I know that you have experience handling multi-million-dollar budgets, so you are pretty good budget analyst, and you can read a budget, you can see what's good. Where is the waste at ECUA?
So I like to think,
What
so when
needs to
I,
be taken out?
well, I'll tell you, I got it. A lot of it has been taken out. So I, when I was elected, thank you for the, for the intro on the financial part. So yeah, so most of my companies, I hold a title of CFO. So I deal with all the financials, your P&Ls, your balance sheets, debt flow schedules. So I'm a numbers guy, and so I'm really good at looking at financial statements and looking for, and not necessarily waste or fraud, but more just waste and redundancy,
I
right?
wouldn't want to look for fraud, because I'm not trying to attack any individual person by any means.
Sure.
I'm just trying to look for waste. Like,
Sure.
What can we be?
So there were a lot. So we've done a lot, and I always welcome, because I have a lot of folks that'll reach out to me and say, ECUA spending this too much money, and here you go with another rate increase. And interesting enough, the individual I ran against, Dr. Walker, great guy, by the way.
He was on the board forever.
Oh, he was on board forever, 28 years, actually the longest at the time, serving board member. So I think Reagan was in office.
I always loved to listen to him.
Very knowledgeable. No, Dr. Walker, great guy. Dr. Walker, great guy. Very knowledgeable, wealth of knowledge on the board. And I'll tell you, I look back at this now, and my big thing was, look, it's rate increase after rate increase after rate increase. And I ran on accountability and transparency. Yes. And so we're at a point now where we do publish all of our financials are on our website. And I remember I was probably on the board 2 weeks. We were going through a third-party audit. So a lot of folks don't know this when they're talking about Doge, and Doge needs to go see the county or ECUA. I'm like, listen, bring them on to ECUA. Bring them on, because we've got third-party every few years.
If Doge, though, is looking for fraud, I don't care about fraud. I'm looking at what is on the budget.
Well, they're looking for wasteful spending as well, right?
Yeah.
So Doge looks at just, and again, from what I've read, like you all on news or listen to on podcasts, I mean, they're more than just fraud.
Yeah.
It's also wasteful spending and so forth.
And I don't want to just expose it. I want to eliminate
but
it.
we don't, but so when I first got in there, I remember the financial. So the head of the CPA firm does our board meeting, comes to our board meeting, and gives us his findings, right, of what the independent third party accounting firm had done for ECUA, and they put us through the ringer. I mean, it's full accountability. It's their audited financials, right? Having audited financials, so very, very detailed. And on the private sector, having to go through audited financials is very, very time consuming, very, very expensive, but very, very detailed. And I remember he's like, look, I realize most of you all haven't read this, but blah, 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 blah. And I was a little offended. Maybe I was just newly elected. I kind of hit my little buzzer there, and I said, look, I can't speak for the other board members, but I have read it. Your financials, and if you would turn to page 161 of the blah 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 blah, and so we're going through it, and I'm looking at what we're doing for bonds at the time, and I think one of the things that stood out to me was, and this is 5 years ago, right? So fast forward, we're still getting you're borrowing money in the 3s and the 4s, a little over 5 years ago, right? And of course not now. But back then, and so you understand, as being on the CAC, we incur bonds and to pay for a lot of our funding, some of our infrastructure. So we'll get bonds. Well, bonds are based on the market rate at the time when you get them. So you may get a $10 million bond that was 10%, over 10 or 10 plus years ago, right? And so one of the things that stood out to me was like, well, look, we need to be renewing these bonds, and we need to be basically refinancing the bonds at a lower rate. Yeah, at a lower rate. And of course, everybody looks at me like, what did he just say? Because again, that's what I looked at. I was like, so that saved us millions of dollars, having us look at the bonds, which were great at the time. 8, 9%, 10%, whatever the case may be, were good rates at the time the bonds were acquired. But you fast forward to where we were at that point. I'm like, look at, this is a $10 million bond, this is an $8 million bond, this is a $12 million bond. You add up all of that, and if you can save 3, 4, 5%, that's significant, right, for the ratepayers. Yes. So there's things like that we looked at. Looked at different departments. I wanted to look at the recycling, the MRF, as we refer to it as, and saying, look, I want the financials on the MRF separated without all the subsidies, right? Because you have wastewater and garbage and so forth that are subsidizing the recycling. So you couldn't really get a true number. They're like, are you making money? Are you not making money? Is it profitable? Is it not profitable?
If you're not selling the stuff, if nobody's buying it.
Sure, or what they're buying it at, right?
But the benefit of that is it's not going into the landfill. It is sitting there
Correct.
waiting to be purchased.
And I explained to
at least.
people, it never was designed as a moneymaker. Now, we made a little bit of money last year, actually, as the financials will show folks, because the commodities market actually went up a little bit, praise God.
It's more of an environmental.
Very much so, because anything that we can recycle, if it's a break even and make a smidge of profit, well, that's great, because it stays out of the landfill.
Yeah. I think that even if you're paying,
Right.
even if you're not making any money and you're paying for it, it is helping the environment somewhat by not
Oh, exactly.
burying it.
But there was a minute there where we're losing some money, and they were losing some money, and I was kind of going through some of the financials, and I'm not saying they were intentionally not accurate, but for me, I work in the private sector. I don't get subsidies. I can't go to the ratepayer if I'm short a month on this or need money here. I can't go raise rates, or I can't go grab money here and there. So if I'm not making it, if I'm not earning, if we're not selling a product or a service, we don't get it. So I like to take that mentality, and I believe I have taken that mentality to the board and saying, look, I want to know what the MRF is making standalone by itself. If it's lost, that's fine. But let me see the numbers, and that way I can look at it and say, okay, here's where we're spending too much, or can we work on some partnerships?
You have operational costs. You have, I don't know if y'all are renting that space.
We are renting it from the county, right? So there's there's overhead.
And then of course
These robots, these multi-million-dollar robots that help us sort through some of the stuff that we paid for, and there's maintenance for that and software. But anyway, so we got that down, and we have brought the overhead down. We've done some consolidation within departments. So I'd like to say yes, we definitely have. And I work with some other great board members. This is not the Kevin Stevens show by no stretch of the imagination. So the other board members are wealth of knowledge. We have a great staff, as you know. Fantastic director. I'm a huge fan of Mr. Wood.
Oh, yeah, me too.
But it's a team effort. But yeah, I think we have definitely saved, cut down on some of the, and I wouldn't say waste, but some of the redundancy. But again, at the end of the day, Michelle, there's not enough money to do what we need to do. We're sitting here talking about rate increases.
Infrastructure is so huge.
And it's 1980. And that's why I tell people, I'm like, look, we're the oldest city, regardless of what St. Augustine says. Literally, it'd be hundreds of millions of dollars. If we replaced everything that we need to replace in all of Escambia County, infrastructure, water, the whole, you name it, it's an absorbent amount.
That is a priority. We have to have that.
But it's a Band-Aid on a compound fracture, because at the end of the day, we're not, we're about to vote on a rate increase, right? That's coming up this month, actually. So I think the final vote will be the following month. And every department head comes to, as you know, the board members, the CAC, I'm part of it, and they'll go over, hey, here's why we need money, here's where our budget is, here's our financial needs for the next year, and so forth. And again, it's not, so I think it's going to end up being all total with wastewater and sanitation, and I think it's like $3 a month, right? So FPL would love to be able to say, hey, I'm only going to go $3 a month on your bill. But again, that is a Band-Aid on a compound fracture, because we're not putting anything away for a lot of the infrastructure that we need to replace. Look at what's happened on Scenic Highway, and people are just infuriated. But oh my God, there's why we have all these sanitary sewer spills into our bay, the estuaries. And I tell people, first off, it's not us.
It's infrastructure.
It's private utility contractors. It's not ECUA breaking these lines. In fact, 90% of these lines and breaks are broke by private contractors.
Okay, so a private contractor or somebody not related to ECUA
Sure.
breaks the line, but guess who pays to have it fixed? It's the ratepayers.
Right.
Are paying to have it fixed because ECUA doesn't sue the.
Well, it's interesting you say that. So
ECUA has an agreement with private contractors that if they break a line,
Right.
they're not going to go after them for that. Is that correct?
Well, I don't know. No, I think
Or would their
they're
insurance-
responsible. Right. Yeah. So they're responsible. It's interesting you say that, and I can't go into a lot of detail on the show. currently, but that is something that they're addressed. In fact, I brought that up at one of our last board meetings. We had another board member bring it up as well about, what are some of the ramifications for some of the private contractors, private utilities contractors who do this. So yes, do we have reserve money? As you know, we have bond money. So we have kind of like your damage deposit, per se, when you do these contracts.
ECUA is going to fix it immediately.
Correct.
They're going to pay for it. But then
Right.
whether or not they pursue the company later is a different story.
So we're getting reimbursed, most of that. But I'm more concerned about the remediation part of it, because really sometimes the repair is far less expensive as the remediation, all the cleaning of the waterways, the estuaries, and so forth. So we are currently, interesting as we're having this conversation, I'll be bringing it up again tomorrow's meeting, but we're going to be talking about, hey, what type of additional responsibilities? And again, I'm a private contractor, and that's my day job. So I get it, and there's got to be a happy medium. Of course, I have tons of insurance and general liability insurance and insurance and so forth. But there's got to be, I think, maybe a little bit more responsibility. Something's got to be looked into, as you said, on the private contractors and what they're going to be responsible for when they break a line or do some damage.
I want to talk about term limits.
Sure.
But we're going to take a commercial break. And so we'll talk about that when we come back. And there's other things I want to talk about also.
Okay, perfect.
The Thornton Review is a civic engagement show with a purpose to spread awareness by interviewing local elected officials, candidates, and professional leaders. This is information you won't get anywhere else. You can watch the Thornton Review on our various outlets. Our website, thethorntonreview.com. On Vimeo, please follow the Thornton Review. On YouTube, please subscribe to the Thornton Review at the Thornton Review 7810. Please like our Facebook page, the Thornton Review Show. On TV, WBQP Channel 12 and WBQP on Roku and Fire Stick. We're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll continue our discussion with Kevin Stevens, ECUA District 5. There is no government-funded program that can guide a man's thoughts. Only God can do that. Company can install any type of fence. When you call and mention the Thornton Review, you'll receive a $100 discount on your fence. They also offer military discounts. Vinyl fence, wood fence, aluminum fence, chain link fence. If it has the word fence, Alpha Fence Company can do it. 850-586-8020. 850-586-8020. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to continue our discussion with Kevin Stevens, ECUA District 5. So Kevin, term limits, good or bad?
No, I think they're good. I think they're necessary. And again, I've got, friends of mine that are also elected officials in city, county, and state government who agree with me, and I have the ones that that don't agree with me. And I, at the end of the day, I kind of go back to the founding fathers, who were farmers, who were business owners, who left their farms, their businesses, went to the capital to serve, their country, and then come back. Right? It was never a lifetime position. And we see what happens with that at the federal level. Right? We see people that have served for 30 some odd years and 35 years and things of that nature. And the argument can definitely be made that these people have lost lost touch with the individuals they represent at that stage of the ball game, right? So the same thing to a degree I feel can be said with city or county government. So I'm a big believer in, like I said, term limits. What that looks like, I've had conversations with county commissioner friends of mine, state representative friends of mine on is that 2 terms, is that 3 terms, is that 8 years, is that 12 years? I remember talking to a county commissioner friend of mine, which won't go into his name right now for conversation purposes, but he was saying, hey, look, I believe in term limits too, but I'm leaning more towards 3 terms, and he goes, because the first 4 years you're kind of learning the ropes. Now, me being in my 2nd term at ECUA, I get it. I felt like I hit the ground running again, because I run multiple businesses, so I'm used to working with very, very large multi-million-dollar budgets. So I had a whole 3-ring binder of everything that I was going to do and accomplish, and I went in there and kind of guns blazing, proverbially speaking, to get that done.
Running it like a business, which is very important.
Sure, and because it is a business, right? It is a business, and but I get it. It takes you 4 years and a lot of times when you get in there, the staff is pretty much kind of running things. At some organizations. Some more than others. Some would argue with you.
They've been there for a long time, and they know.
Sometimes they've been there for a very, very long time, and that can be good or bad, because sometimes you may have elected officials who are relying too much on the staff. They've got their favorites they work with. They've got their vendors, their subs, their this, their that, whatever the case may be. And so sometimes that's not a good thing. Is for the elected official, hopefully, is doing his or her due diligence on a particular subject matter and not relying 100% on staff, because there's a lot of arguments right now at the county level and the city level. It's like, look, the elected officials aren't really, it's the tail wagging the dog, because they're basically dictating to the elected official what they should or should not be doing, and based on the inexperience of the elected official, they're just kind of going along with it. So I've heard that before, right, wrong, indifferent. It's certainly possible. So for those reasons, yeah. And then, of course, your 2nd year, you're starting to learn things, right? Your term, I should say, your 2nd term, learn things. When you start getting into higher levels, sure, the argument could be made, you're able to develop coalitions with other state representatives, with other congressmen, senators, commissioners, whatever the case may be, to actually get something done, because it's one of these situations, you're on, I don't know, year 5 or 6, and they're like, she's done in a year and a half. He's done in a year and a half. So what's the point? So I could see the argument for that.
Especially if it's somebody really good who we really need to represent us, but then they're term limited out. That's kind of bad. And then it depends on who his.
Sure, great argument, right? Because you've got someone that you really like this guy, this girl, this lady is sharp, and God, we hate to lose her, or we hate to lose him. So there's the flip side. But then, as you know, there's the other side of the coin is, this guy is horrible. This person is bad. She could do a better job. This person is boom. Right.
The problem is they're not getting voted out in some.
Well, it's difficult because it takes a lot of money to run a campaign. It takes a ton of money to run. And the higher level you go, Pueschel, the more money. So, ECUA, probably is on the lower end of that to run that campaign. I can think off the top of my head what I spent on that campaign, but I was self-funded. But county commissioner, mayor, state rep, so these are hundreds of thousands of dollars. Well, look at the last county commission race. Last county commission race, I think we had a couple of county commissioners raise over $100,000. Over $100,000. Now, most of your
probably a record also because.
But most of your private citizens don't have that. So how do you compete against that? You could have a great message, Pueschel, a great message, a lot of background, but if you don't get the message out there, whether it be news, mailers, radio, billboards, it takes money to do that. That's a legitimate concern.
Sure.
So that's where, but you got a lot of folks that are entrenched in public office.
That's where we need to maybe put a cap on tax.
Sure, and we've heard that.
Anyway,
That's going to be done at the federal level, because, as you know, your PACs are nameless, faceless, money machines that contribute all the way to the federal level, with basically no accountability. And so you'll see that, right? You'll see that going back to the whole term limits thing. So I think that again, I was 2 terms, 8 years, and the longer I sat on there, I committed to 2 terms. So when I ran, I committed to 2 terms. I'm in my last term as we speak at ECUA. So again,
Are you saying something by saying that?
well, no, I just I think I've done I've done a lot. I feel very accomplished at my time at ECUA, even though it's been a short time, 5 years. Now again, I've got 3 more years left. So this is, I mean, November is going to be 1 year I've been in office. So we're 2028. So I've got a lot more to do.
Can happen between now and
A lot can happen then, and I've got a lot of things I want to accomplish. But yeah, I think we're definitely on the right track for sure.
Okay. So population cap. As you know, District 5 has exploded.
Exploded.
With subdivisions and population. What don't we need some sort of population cap to keep the density low?
I don't know how you do a population cap, because
you do the density. You zone the
Sure,
density.
sure, but and again, it goes by what metric we're going with. And there's a lot of factors there, because like what I'm about to say, here in just a minute, I feel like such a hypocrite, because and maybe a little selfish, because I moved out there. My family's been out in the cantonment, Molina area for over 50 years. My parents had a small place off of Brickyard Road that my sister and I would do Easter egg hunts and stuff up there. So very near and dear to my heart. Both my kids were born there, learned how to walk there, ride a bike there, swim in the pool there, the whole deal. So
And you're way out in the country.
way out in the country, right?
Rural.
Very
It's
rural,
zoned
and I love
low
it.
density,
Right.
And it's zoned that
Sure.
way.
And
Or
so,
it used to be.
but at the same time, it's like all these people, and Santa Rosa County is going through this right now, right? And we're going through it a little bit down in Escambia County, and the city is dealing with
All
it.
of Florida is going.
All of Florida is going.
But I'm focused on Escambia County
Sure,
right now.
sure.
And particularly District 5.
Absolutely.
And, and the downtown area, but I know that's not your district.
Yeah, and like I was saying to you on the commercial break about these 200 acres just north of me, where we had a developer, a contractor, buddy of mine, reach out and was saying, hey, look, we're looking at we want to get your input. We know you own a lot of property around here. We certainly don't want you bringing a pitchfork to a county commissioner meeting. How do you feel about this? And I remember him showing me the plot, and I'm like, listen, this is exactly what we need. Speaking of District 5, the smallest, it was 5-acre lots. There are 5-acre lots. I'm not saying you need 5-acre lots like right there on Kingsfield, right? But as you get further and further north, Pueschel, certainly in the Molino area, not a bad idea. There are 5-acre lots, 7, 8, 10, 20 plus acre lots. I'm like, listen, not only don't I mind, but I fully support this, because this is exactly, because in my mind, I'm thinking, selfishly speaking, hey, look, I've got this land over here. I've got a friend of mine that lives over here. I got a neighbor next to me who's got 3 sons who will never sell his land, and so I'm kind of nestled away, right, in this area, and the only other available land are 5 and 10 acre parcels, which are great,
Yeah.
great homesteads. So I know that my area around me now. You go back to, what should there. I'm 100% agreement. We need to be addressing population
Yeah.
and growth in District 5.
I think we need to look at the current population. What is there now? Because you've got 500 house subdivisions that are brand new.
Mm-hmm.
Multiple 500.
We have 5+
4,000.
thousand coming in the next 5 years as we speak.
Okay.
Like they're already being
Okay. We need to.
permitted.
That needs to be the cap. In
Well,
my opinion, because we're clear cutting the forest and we're creating flooding issues by doing that.
Oh, and 100% we need to address infrastructure. And again, and that's what a lot of people say. That hey, these builders need to pay for infrastructure, and I correct people. I'm like, they pay for infrastructure. Not only do they pay for all their infrastructure required for their subdivision,
Improvements.
but they're paying improvements for the rest of us. Because again, if the developer needs I'm just going to throw out a round number, a 1-inch pipe to service his subdivision, we're like, look, would you be willing to upgrade that pipe to a 2-inch pipe or a 3-inch pipe, whatever the next size is up, right? So we can service additional areas with sewer and or water that aren't part of his subdivision. And again, because the mobilization is there, right? The trench is dug, the tractors are already in place, the trench is dug. So let's utilize that, right? And we do some cost sharing. And all we pay for is the difference between the say, for example, the 1-inch and 2-inch pipe. So they're paying for that. But that's not enough. I mean, we've got flooding issues. We've got very degraded roadways. And I mean, goodness gracious alive.
We've got, 2-lane roads with
multiple
500 house
Sure.
subdivisions going.
Absolutely. That just won't support that. So there's no question that needs to be addressed. And so there's got to be a happy medium there on folks like you, like me, that want to live out there, that want to, everybody wants to write the American dream. I don't know what that is now. It used to be 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, 2.5 kids, the cat, the dog, the whole deal. So do you tell those people no? Do you tell them you can move somewhere, just not here?
Well, and we need to keep zoning. We need to have density zoning.
We definitely need to I'm with you on if it's agricultural.
What's done is done.
Sure.
You can't undo what is, but you can go forward and you can say no more because it's already at its cap. Roads can't handle
sure.
it. And
those studies need to be done. I'm with you. In fact, my buddy Chris Kerb is here right now. Flood defenders. That's a shameless plug for him. He'll sit there and tell you. But and again, I'm in agreement with that. And again, we need to look at density.
Wildlife. Like, where are the coyotes going? Where are the raccoons and the weasels? There are cantonment animals that live in the woods.
Sure.
We're clear cutting everything and paving over it, creating flooding issues. But where are the animals going?
Well, I'll tell you, it's and it's a challenge for every state legislator and every county commissioner to balance that. So we've got population growth. We live, in my opinion, the greatest state in the world. Yeah. And so what do you tell these people? It's like we're all full. I feel like an episode of Forrest Gump. Seat taken. So
my parents own some acreage out in Cantonment, and they wanted to build another house on their lot, and they couldn't because of the density. Because it's not on sewer, it's septic, but they were denied to do that. But now, just a couple miles up the road, there's a 500 house subdivision going in, and obviously they changed the zoning for
So
that.
if there's a 500, then they may have tied into sewer. I'm thinking there's multiple subdivisions.
It's on the one in particular is on off Nowak Road.
Yeah. So I know there's some folks. I know there's 297, 978, and so forth that were able to. A lot of folks think they're on septic. They're actually on sewer. They actually were tied in.
Very close to there.
Okay.
But it is, I guess, it's zoned.
So, at that stage of the ball game, again, they may have had, the builder developer may have tied into our sewer plant at the time and actually paid for the 1,000-yard, 500-yard, whatever. In some cases, a mile, 2 miles. You should see some of the plans for some of these subdivisions. They're paying for very long runs, Pueschel, very long runs, which is great for us as the ratepayer because we can tie into that.
Into the sewer way down the road.
Correct. Yeah. I don't see any 500 home subdivisions come across my desk that are septic.
Right.
But again, to your point, roadways are at capacity right now, right? Yeah. Schools, and we could go down the list on things that have to be addressed, all of which take money. So it's like, where does the money come from? I mean, prior to the commercial break, we were talking about the infrastructure, and I mean, goodness gracious, we got $10 million for Brownsville. Not all for Brownsville, but part of it's going to go to Brownsville to the septic to sewer conversion, right? We got a grant. But what people don't realize is it was a match. So it means we got $10 million, but you have to come up with $10 million. So ECUA, and if we don't come up with the $10 million, we lose $10 million. So so again, where does that other $10 million come from? Well, it comes from us, right? The ratepayers. So it's one of those situations. There's a lot that needs to be done, infrastructure improvements and so forth. But again, who's paying for it? And the only people that are left to pay for it is the ratepayers. And I can tell you, Pueschel, I mean, you saw the line wrapped around the courthouse at Escambia County when the county commissioners are talking about going up on taxes and property tax and the city council and so forth. So everybody wants all these great infrastructure improvements, and they're needed, but nobody wants to pay for it.
Well, yeah. If we put a cap on the population, we probably wouldn't need to widen the roads. But I'm particularly speaking the area that I grew up in. on 297A.
Right.
You drive down that road and you might pass another car. You might pass 2 or 3 cars,
Right.
maybe. But now it's just backed up.
Oh, trust me, I used to pride myself on getting from downtown to my house
In 20
on
minutes.
Barth. And well, 30 minutes,
Okay,
but
well, you're a little further
yeah.
out, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm in Barth,
Yeah.
so it has a Molino address. But again,
Is that about 10 miles north of Muskogee Road?
yeah, not far. I mean, literally, I always tell folks Atmore Cutoff, Tom Thumb.
Okay,
I'm
yeah.
about 2.5 miles,
Okay.
on your right. Not far from Camp of the Pines.
Boy, I
But
thought it was a long way driving from my parents' house every day.
oh yeah, oh no. But so I see it. I see it. I
Yeah,
see it
the
driving,
road.
to and from work. The traffic.
My dad-
God forbid the train, which I got
Yeah.
caught in on Saturday. I was about pulling out, and of course I don't have any here. What I had
Yeah,
left,
when the train
waiting
crosses
35 minutes. That's a whole nother discussion on
Yeah.
what are we doing
And traffic's backed up
the
for
train.
miles.
Oh,
I'm
it was
sure.
it was both directions.
This mile.
Over 35 minutes the train.
Wow.
So yeah, there definitely
Well, now,
needs to
then
be
also
some
there's
discussions.
There's a federal law that trains are not allowed to block a train crossing for more than like 20 minutes.
They violated that one Saturday. I can tell you right now, along me with a couple other people, saying 100 people. Yeah, it was definitely longer than 20 minutes.
Interesting. Yeah.
So, but again, definitely needs to be addressed. And I'm not for mowing down trees to build, huge subdivisions. And certainly
they've
I don't.
done, though.
And I don't want to
It's already done.
mow down a cornfield, to put us up because we need again.
Or for
we
solar,
Yeah.
know, they're mowing down fields.
That's a
and
whole
putting
different
in
subject. I was
solar.
telling you
And
before.
that's
Yes,
not- yeah.
that's a whole different story. There's so many
We'll see what
better
these see.
ways. Yes, there's so many better ways. Parking lot awnings.
Well,
I can think of a
buildings.
bunch of buildings.
Malls, any private building that would agree to participate.
Oh, sure.
Government building, every.
If you just
government
added the
building,
Walmarts, the Costco's, we could go down the list. You could have Publix. You could have solar farms in parking lots
On
that would
top of
A,
roofs.
serve just parking lots, right? Just in parking lots. So A would
park
have
underneath them?
park underneath them, right?
What if you ran into one?
So,
That
well, I
could
mean, I
be
guess you could run into a light pole too, but I mean, people
That's
need to pay
true.
attention. But this would help the individual,
Yes.
obviously as customers, right? It's going to cool that down.
Yeah, that's a
The
good
black top is
idea.
going to intensify the solar, so hopefully they're producing a lot. So again, that's my shameless plug for
Why did
alternative
they do
to
that
taking
to
down
begin
forests and so
with,
forth.
rather than the farmland. I don't understand that thinking.
Maybe cheap. Who like I said, it always boils down to money, right? At the end of the day.
But it takes more than one. Yeah. There's no checks and balances.
But yes, I would much prefer parking lots to cornfields on putting in solar
Absolutely.
farms for sure.
And permeable asphalt. What do you think about that? And I'm not talking about digging up every road and every parking lot in order to replace it, but as we build new roads and as we repair roads, go to permeable asphalt.
I just don't know how long. So I have that in my house, right? I have
Okay.
crushed asphalt basically. So I put that on some of my trails and some of my roadways and so
It's
forth.
not like concreted in where it's hard. It's
Correct.
It's more of you can almost pick it up. You can
Yeah,
pick it
sure.
up. Okay.
It's
Now, Old Bridge Road in Cantonment used to be permeable concrete. You could go out there and pour a gallon of water on it, and it would just go right through. It wouldn't run off. But they have since paved that road
Right.
differently, where doesn't do that anymore. But I don't know how long it lasted.
it
There's
doesn't
got
last
to
as
be-
long. I mean, and I'm constantly one of my de-stressors, on the weekends is to get in my tractor with my box blade on the back, and I'll drive around.
Compact it.
Yes, and I'll grade it right with the box blade. So I'll go on my different trails and roadways in the back part of the property to do that with. And again, and most of my ruts come from my son and his four-wheeler, or my daughter and her little side-by-side, thinking it's a raceway back there.
Yeah.
So I couldn't imagine, right? Regular traffic, Pueschel, driving back and forth, and how much maintenance. So I don't know if it's practical, is what I guess I'm getting to, for a commercial or a county roadway, just because of the maintenance cost, and you're having to put it back down, right? I mean, every so often you're having to add additional, way more than
You wouldn't
repaving.
want thousands of cars on it every day. But I wonder if there is anything permeable that can be used like for the interstate. I'm just wondering if
And
that
anything
technology
permeable,
is there.
yeah, anything permeable, again, you go back to more maintenance and replacing whatever permanent substrate you're using, you're going to have to replace it eventually, and probably way more often than asphalt.
Well, then we need like sewer line, septic tank lines going away from roads.
Sure, and drainage,
parking
yeah, and that
lots.
just goes back to drainage. And again, we were talking about that earlier.
We need more than what we have.
Oh,
Because there is a flooding
absolutely.
issue, and I'm a firm believer that clear cutting and paving contributes to flooding.
Sure, sure, and there's no question because you're losing the
It's not
permeable.
just because
You're
we
losing the
have more
permeable.
rain. More
Yeah.
rain, that's a farce.
Right.
We have rain all the time.
I'm with you. I don't think we're getting. I mean, I know some of the rain totals are here and there, but
Sometimes
I always
we get record rain,
sure.
But we shouldn't be flooding. There shouldn't be so much pavement that there isn't enough ground saturation to prevent.
And that's just good. Again, we are working on. The city's got several projects going on right now, as you know. Excuse me, with infrastructure repairs, and they're doing that off of Main Street. There's several different projects off of the 9th Avenue to deal with some of the flooding. So it's being addressed right now. Needs to be addressed. But again, it takes money. Like, where does the money come from? I mean, literally, the county commissioners, are in meetings right now about raising the taxes to pay for emergency services, your first responders, your so forth, and in our neck of the woods in District 5.
to give them raises.
Yes, that's been a big deal. Well, look,
I'm
I
for
voted for a rate
raises,
increase a few years ago with ECUA, with it being designated. Talking about going over budgets and waste and whatnot. I'm like, look, I don't want to vote for a rate increase that we don't know where it's going. It's going to the great abyss somewhere.
Right,
I'm like,
yeah.
if we can target it, because I was a no vote originally. We always do this soft vote to see how it is, where every board member is going to be. I was like, if you can tell me it's going towards our garbage haulers
And I like
and our
that.
drivers, then I'm a yes. If you're telling me we're just going to raise it, but we don't know where the money's going to go,
Right.
I'm a hard no, right? And we got that verbiage in the bill that said, yes, this is going to go to, because again,
And so are they actually putting, so in that case, would they take the $2 from every single ratepayer and actually put it in a separate bucket?
a percentage
They know how
of
much-
our rate increase went directly to. It could only go toward. It was actually written in the bill. It could only go toward the garbage haulers, drivers, and so forth. I'm not saying that there's not other. Everybody is as important there, but again, I mean, let's face it. I don't think you'd get any employee at ECUA saying, the garbage haulers probably do a lot of the heavy lifting, literally and figuratively, right? And it's hot out there in the back of those trucks and getting out of the trucks, and it's tough. So anyway, a lot more to do.
They have rough routes too.
The rough route, especially again going back to my district. I mean, some of them you can't even turn around. I mean, I get constantly like, hey, we were amiss, we were that. I can't tell you how many missed garbage pickup calls I get in the course of a week, and we get out there and we handle it. But sometimes they're being blocked, or there's another car. We have to explain to folks like, look, again,
Is the I hate to
Sure.
interrupt, is the transfer station up and running?
talking about the new one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Vicky was on the show
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about it.
So not yet, but we're getting there. In fact, I'll probably I'll probably get an update tomorrow on where we're at with that.
I might go to that meeting tomorrow.
Sure.
We'll see. Well, do you have any closing thoughts or any closing statements that you'd like to make on the show?
Yeah, just in light, obviously we had, I feel remiss if I didn't bring up, Charlie Kirk and that
Absolutely.
senseless murder, death of this individual. Regardless of what people think about alternative political opinions, again, we're all Americans, we're all human beings, and whether you're a Christian or whether you're not, I think some folks anyway, have lost a lot of their humanity. And again, you don't have to agree with someone, Pueschel, and we can have agreeing views or differing
There's
views.
a lot of people I don't agree with,
But-
but I would never go to that extreme.
Again,
I can't fathom.
I listen, and I've got some talk show hosts that I don't, and some news station hosts that I don't, or hostesses that I don't necessarily agree with. Pretty much anything that they say.
If you're a normal person, you're going to disagree with people. You're
Sure.
going to strongly disagree with some people, and you're
But
going to strongly agree
absolutely,
with some
but
people.
never in my
You're
mind or
definitely-
your mind would it ever cross my mind to harm that person.
Yeah.
I'll flip the channel, right?
Yeah.
and or turn the
Or I
radio
just
off
hope they
or
get voted
or
out, or
walk
the
away.
government- yeah.
Sure, but so something's bad wrong. I mean, you saw the incident at Confetti Bridge last night where they did the memorial to Charlie Kirk, and then 5 hours later you have a bunch of kids with masks on and
I think it's just
pullovers
because they
spray
don't
painting explicitives on
Yeah.
on this, and I'm like, what? Why? Like, why?
They're just rebellious, and they don't
Yeah.
love the Lord. That's the bottom line. It
So-
boils down to God, Jesus Christ, the triune
Amen.
God.
Amen.
And they don't.
And parenting, and this could be a whole nother show on
Absolutely.
parenting, because
I know,
if
yeah.
that was one of my kids out there, I was telling my wife, I was like, I would feel as a complete failure, like I have failed as a parent,
Oh, jeez. Oh, God.
as the head of my household, if
Yeah.
one of my kids was out there doing something like that, or teenager, whatever the case may be. So, yeah, I just hope we can find some middle ground with the
Unless
opposing
you're a
side.
terrible parent and you're steering your child in that direction, then you're partly to blame. But if you're not, if you have steered your child in, the ways of the Lord, and just a normal
Sure.
family that does what they're supposed to do, the dad goes to work, the mom might work out of the house, but she's a homemaker, and
Sure.
kids go to school to help the kid with homework and raising them in a church.
Right.
And you're not responsible for what your child does.
No. Oh no, but again, we could do a whole show on that. I mean, regardless, without
People are
responsible,
responsible for their
I
own
feel
actions.
responsible for the actions of my children. Whether or not, the argument is,
Well,
look,
I
and you're
would
not
ask,
responsible,
where
but
did-
I
yeah.
feel responsible.
Exactly, and I'm with you on that, because
Just
I'll
like
be
you're about to say, right? Where did I go wrong?
Yeah, where
Because I'd be
did
like,
I
where
go
did I go wrong
What
if one of my
happened?
kids were out there doing that?
But I think the bottom line is that if you did everything you could,
Sure.
people are responsible for their own actions.
Absolutely.
Human beings, nobody made them do anything. They are responsible for their own actions. So I think that's what it boils down to. Well, I really appreciate you coming.
Hey,
on. That was fun.
enjoy it,
And I could
yes.
keep talking with you forever.
Absolutely, yeah. Now I enjoy these.
Thanks. The Thornton Review is on the air to provide public service awareness and intellectual infrastructure to our community. This show is made possible by Ida Gates Godly Teas, LLC, Alpha Fence Company, and our guest, Kevin Stevens, ECUA District 5. Thank you for having on.
Hey,
That was a
thanks for having me back
blast.
on.
And we want to thank you for watching this episode of the Thornton Review. Bye-bye.